Hey guys, Ultima here, bringing you my BT8 Ammo Rush deck profile. I'm sorry that I didn't really upload on my channel all too much the last few months. Kinda skipped over BT7 due to, well, private stuff, mostly apprenticeship stuff, since I am currently in my finals exams phase, so yeah, that's why I didn't really upload all that much, but I was and I am still currently streaming on Twitch every Saturday, at least as long as my friends are available, of course. Because we're doing something called a Pokemon Friend Lock. TLDR, it's a Pokemon Nuzlocke where your friends control your Pokemon, or in the current Friend Lock's case, the Digimon. So we're doing a Digimon Cyber Sleuth Friend Lock right now. But yeah, regardless, let's start with the deck profile. Don't want to plug my Twitch too much. You can just find it in my description after you're done watching the video, or while you're watching the video. You do you. Anyway, starting with the Digix, we just play 4 copies of Ultimon. Self-explanatory, it's just the best Digix for this build, because you want to get to your pieces as fast as possible. This is a rush deck, so yeah, having a way to just draw cards faster than your opponent is just great. As long as your opponent has a Digimon without Digivolution cards, when attacking you draw 1, so yeah. Especially in like the current meta where like a lot of decks run these free cost 0-2 Digimon that they use for DNA Digivolutions. This is really good. So yeah. Moving on to our main deck with our rookies. We play a bunch of them, and they're all Vmons. First of all, we play 4 copies of the new starter deck Vmon. We play 4 copies of the BT3 Vmon. We play 3 copies of the BT8 Vmon. 3 copies of the old starter deck Vmon. 2 copies of EX1 Vmon, as well as 2 copies of BT2 Vmon. The reason we play 4 of the the new Star Deck Vmon is because his effect is reveal the top 3 cards of your deck and add 1 Digimon with free attributes to your hand. So pretty much 99% of our deck is free type Digimon, so you can search pretty much every Digimon that you need with Vmon. The only one that you cannot search is one single Lobo one that I put in the deck as an extra hit, because we do play a few Tamers. So yeah, that's why I play him at 4. Next up, the Jamming Beam for BT3, obviously, because he has Jamming, and Jamming works pretty well with Armor Purge, especially when you're able to restand, so, you know, just swing with the Jamming Beam on, probably survives unless there's an option card. And then you can just Digivolve into, for example, Magnamon, because Magnamon restands, and then you can just either swing again, or you have a body on the board that your opponent can't touch, or is a blocker in Magnamon's case. I don't really get why a lot of people only play 2 or 1 of these in Armor Rush, because it's jamming, guys. Like, why only like 2 or less? Like, I get that's like the ratios that they use for Imperial Dramon decks, but I just don't get why they don't run jamming Beamon all that much. But whatever. Let's move on. We play the BT8 Searcher Vmon only 3 times, because the starter deck one is better, because it just searches all of our Digimon, while this only searches blue Digimon, not just blue Digimon, blue cards, blue 2-color cards. So the upside is it does not only search Digimon, but also our Tamers and option cards if we were to play them. I am not playing Megadeth in this, by the way, spoiler. But if I were to play Megadeth, it could be searched with this. But the downside is that it just puts all of our Vmons and our Lobomon underneath the deck, so that's why we only play 3. Next up, the old starter deck Vmon. We don't really care about the main effect, TLDR. It's an All Force Warp Evolution effect, but since we don't play All Force in this deck, that doesn't matter. The Inheritable says, when attacking, while you have 7 cards or less in your hand, draw 1. So early game, this is probably the best Inheritable that we can get, just to, again, generate card advantage, same as with our Upamon. So with Upamon and this Vmon, we already draw 2 cards. Then we got the EX1 Vmon, which has the Inheritable. When this Digimon becomes active during the main phase, gain 1 memory. I am thinking about potentially cutting the BT2 Vmon here in favor of the EX1 Vmon, or like play like 1 copy of it and then just play 3. So like I'm gonna probably end up playing 3 or 4 of these, just depending on how I feel. But yeah, in general, just the memory gate is really good in this deck because we have a lot of ways to make our Armor Digimon restand. Same with this Vmon. It is really good to get a card advantage, but I feel like getting memory is partially more important, especially since we do play another Vmon for draw advantage. But yeah, just in general, if you play Armor Rush, you have to play nothing but Vmons, and I'll explain in a second, in case you haven't looked into BT8 all too much yourself. So that's it for the rookies / Vmons. Moving on to our level 4s. We play 4 copies of our Magnamon, which is pretty much the boss monster of the deck. Then we play 4 copies of Flamedramon, 4 copies of Lydramon. We rearrange the cards a bit so you can see everything. Whoops. There we go. Lydramon, and 1 copy of Lobomon, as I mentioned before. All of our Armor Digimon have something called a special Digivolution requirement. Let me see if I can get it on camera so you guys can see it. It's a little blurry, but you can like... I think you can make out the box up here. I really gotta look at my autofocus settings. But effectively, special Digivolution requirements ignore the basic Digivolution requirements. So like, in this case, blue and yellow forecast from you can have a Digivolve from a blue or yellow level 3 for forecast. Instead, you can Digivolve this from a Vmon for free cost. So that's why we're playing nothing but Vmons, because we do want to play our armors for as cheap as possible. And then it has also a new named effect, which is Armor Purge, which effectively lets you de-Digivolve your own Armor Digimon to prevent their deletion. So yeah, you just trash the top card as if it was like a de-Digivolution effect, and then your Digimon doesn't get deleted. There are a bunch of ways that we can abuse this, including one of the effects of Magnamon. Magnamon's effects are Blocker, obviously Armor Purge, as I mentioned before. And then it has the effect when Digivolving, unsuspend this Digimon, this Digimon gets 2000 DP for each Armor Form Digimon in your trash. So you can make your Magnamon really beefy with this. You can make him like gain insane DP, but mostly late game. But just in general, with just 1 armor, you already have a 9000 blocker. With 2, you have an 11,000 blocker. And in most cases, a lot of Digimon already can't get past that. So, really, really good. But yeah, the restand effect is the reason why Armor Purge is so good. Because if you, let's say, like, I don't know, you have like a different armor, gets deleted, Armor Purge it, then you still have like free memory left, Digivolve your Magnamon on top and restand. So, allows you to do some extra hits. Then we got Flamedramon, pretty simple, similar special Digivolution requirement as Magnamon, just 1 cost lower, so Digivolves for 2 from V1, and if he didn't have that, he couldn't even Digivolve from V1, because he can only Digivolve from Red naturally. He has Armor Purge, same as Magnamon, well, same as all Armor Digimon. And then he also has the when attacking effect, this Digimon gains 3000 DP for a turn. And since this does apply even if he's Armor Purged, this also makes it pretty good in this deck, because there are some combos that rely on it. So if this is Armor Purged and you have like several checks with, Fire Rocket, which gives security attack +1, the 5000, not 5000, the 3000 DP from Flamedramon carry over to your Vmon and essentially turns it into a 5000 beat stick for the turn. Our last armor is 4 copies of Lydramon, obviously. Same Digivolution requirements as Flamedramon. Has Armor Purge, and it has the Vantage Evolving effect of suspending one of your opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon. So this can help us to suspend one of our opponent's blockers, or just to suspend a annoying, Floodgate card, like, for example, like Chumon and stuff. Just get over it. We don't play Hammer Spark currently, but I'm still testing, so I might add Hammer Spark in the future. So, suspending a low-level Digimon with Raydramon just beating over it is pretty useful. And lastly, 1 copy of Lobomon just have an extra hit, since we do play 6 Tamers in this deck. So, yeah. That's it for our level 4 lineup. Pretty basic for Armor Rush. Moving on to our level 5s, we only play 2. Which is 2 copies of the new starter deck Paildramon. This is actually one of the first DNA Digivolution cards that were introduced to the DCG in general. So what DNA Digivolution effectively does is you take 2 Digimon that are listed as a DNA Digivolution requirements to Digivolve to devolve both of them into one singular Digimon, and this effectively turns them into a new Digimon that is unsuspended. That does mean that inheritable effects, like for example, our Upamon here that is once per turn, can reactivate again, and they have Rush, so they can just immediately attack the moment they DNA Digivolve. It's not like they get Summoning Sickness the moment they DNA Digivolve, that would be stupid. And they also have, in most cases, a special when Digivolving effect that triggers when they are specifically DNA Digivolved. In the case of Paildramon, his one Digivolving effect is that when this Digimon is DNA Digivolving, you can put one of your opponents, I think it was suspended, or does it just take opponent's Digimon? Oh yeah, when the DNA Digivolving, return one of your opponent's Digimon of 6000 DP or less to the bottom of its owner's deck, so that is pretty solid to get rid of some level 4 lowers. Then he has the when attacking effect, once per turn, unsuspend his Digimon. So again, this is just here to get some extra swings in. You can combo this off with Fire Rocket, by the way, because it is a 2-color card. So as long as you fulfill the requirement of Fire Rocket, you can use it on your Paildramon. So this can, if it doesn't die in security, of course, this could lead to it doing 4 checks in total with just 1 Fire Rocket. So yeah, really, really good. Moving on to our Tamers. We don't play any level 6s in this deck. We only play level 3s, 4s, and 2 level 5s. We got 3 Davises from BT3, as well as 3 Davis and Ken from the new set. Davis is just a regular memory setter, you probably already know him, and he became extremely expensive. I'm really glad that I already had 3 of him. The reason he became so expensive is his search effect, which is that when he's played, you can look at the top 3 cards of your deck and add 1 blue and 1 green Digimon to your hand. And because there is now so many new good green cards, or whatever, like green-blue dual color cards, like for example Lydramon is a green-blue dual color card, and Paildramon is a green-blue dual color card. If it's a dual color card, you can like pick and choose for which it does count, so keep that in mind. And then we got Davis and Ken. The first effect is that at the start of the main phase, so not at the start of the turn like with Davis, start of the main phase, so you can still trigger this off when you're done with your raising phase. So in the case of this, where you gain 1 memory with blue Digimon and 1 memory with a green Digimon, optimally you want to have a Lydramon in your raising, so you move it out and then you get 2 memory for each Davis and Ken that you have on your board right now. So that's really, really good. But the main reason why we play this Tamer is not necessarily the memory gain. It obviously does help, so having more memory is obviously good, especially like Tamer-based memory that your opponent cannot use Floodgates like Trumon against. But the main reason we played is it's your turn effect, which is when one of your Digimon digivolves into a Digimon with 2 or more colors, you can suspend this Tamer to make the 2-color Digimon unsuspend. So that's why Armor Purge is so good. Because hypothetically speaking, let's say you get Jamming Weemon, and you just swung with it, and then you're gonna Digivolve it into a Flame Dramon, which naturally does not have an effect to restand. Like Magnamon, for example, does have an effect to restand. So you Digivolve your Veemon into a Flame Dramon, obviously draw 1 for Digivolution, and then you tap your Davis and Ken, and then it just restands. So yeah, very basic combo with this, but it's still really, really good to just get an extra swing in, especially when you've just used the Fire Rocket on your Flame Dramon, for example. It dies, you still have your Veemon that survived the checks, especially if it's a Jamming Veemon. Again, that's why I don't really understand why people don't play it at 4, or like 3 or 4, in most armor builds that I've seen in the English format, but whatever, they can do whatever the fuck they want. But yeah, just being able to just restand your armors is really, really good with Jamming Veemon. But yeah, that's it for the Tamers. Moving on to our option cards. For our armor-based option cards, we play 4 copies of Fire Rocket, as I mentioned before, as well as 4 copies of Armor Texture. What Fire Rocket does is that, first of all, if you have a Digimon with armor form in its traits, you can just activate this without color requirements. So that means if you have Magnamon, Flame Dramon, or Lydramon on the field, you can just activate Fire Rocket for like without any color requirements. So that's really, really good, especially since it only costs 1. And that gives one of your 2 color Digimon security attack +1, so this is designed to just beef up your armors and just rush into your opponent's security. So again, this is why being able to restand is so powerful, and that's the reason why we play 4 copies of Armor Texture. What Armor Texture does is, again, same as Fire Rocket, if you have an Armor Digimon, you can just Digivolve this without color requirements, so you don't need a white card for this. And you can trash the top card of one of your Armor Digimon, so effectively it does Armor Purge. And then you can immediately Digivolve it into a new Armor Digimon from your hand by paying their Digivolution cost, and then they restand. So that's the reason why I am considering to like beef up EX1 Vmon, because he does give memory +1 if you restand your Digimon. What I did not mention with Fire Rocket, I almost forgot, he does have a security effect that is different from the main effect, which is when this is activated in security, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with blocker. This can be really useful, especially against decks like X-Antibody, even though X-Antibody has like protection, of course. If they, like for example, for some reason Digivolve in Hisha Ryomon and they don't have protection, or they already used up their protection with Toragreymon, and have Gin Ryomon underneath, which is the new X-Antibody that gives a blocker, and they run into a Fire Rocket, that's just dead. That can just delete anything that is a blocker. So against black, this is really good. Against like any decks that run blockers, this is good. So yeah, that's why Fire Rocket at 4. Would play it at 3 minimum. I wouldn't play it any less in the current meta, at least. And Armor Texture also has a different security effect, which is play 1 level 3 Digimon with 3 in its traits from your hand without paying its memory cost. This does not say that it doesn't activate the main effect, not the main effect, the on-play effects, so you can still activate cards like, for example, this Star Deck Vmon here by playing it with this effect. That's also the reason why we obviously play nothing but Vmons, because they're all free attribute. So I think we have like about 18 Vmons in this deck, so very high chance that we have one in our hand if our opponent runs into Armor Texture. So Armor Texture effectively turns all of our Vmons into security Digimon. So again, very good main effect, very good security effects. Moving on to our blue option cards. Play 2 copies of Blue Memory Boost. Because even though I don't play Hammer Spark, I just like having, you know, cards that give me extra memory, and it also helps us to get to our pieces faster. And then we play 1 copy of Ice Wall. If I do end up playing if I manage to free up another slot, like if I, for example, feel like I don't know, I want to play like 1 less Fire Rocket or 1 less Armor Texture, I might play Hammer Spark again. And if I do, I'm gonna cut Ice Wall. So if you have one more slot open, I would suggest playing Hammer Spark instead of Ice Wall, since you know it is just at 1. But yeah, this is pretty much just to fill out the last slot, because I didn't wanna just do it with a single or Hammer Spark, you know. But yeah, anyways, that's it for our option cards. Alright, that's it for my BT8 Armor Rush deck. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to same as I think, I don't know if it was the last video I started doing it, or if it was like the semi-last video that I started doing it, but I'm gonna put a card that shows my entire deck list, so you can just skip to that part, because I don't want to force people to watch my entire deck profile just to know, obviously, my deck profile, since I just want to put it out in the world. But yeah, I'm just gonna show the card right now. If you enjoyed my video, leave a like, subscribe. If you have time on Saturday at 9 PM CST, I would love to obviously see you at my streams while we do the Cyber Sleuth Friend Lock, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.